Hey everybody, it's Coach Jessica. Just wanted to catch up with you guys today and talk about the next steps to sobriety. Last week was an introduction to ED. If you've not gone and listened to those videos from last week from myself and Coach Mary, you really need to go back and do that. They're extremely, extremely valuable. We've certainly heard from several of you that you didn't really realize that you had disordered eating. You knew that you had a problem with food, but you didn't really understand the nature of ED. And I think that's really step one in sobriety, is realizing that you have a problem. The next step to sobriety is what we want to focus on this week, and that is identifying the situations where ED is likely to get a foothold in your thoughts. There are universal triggers for most people who have disorders, and that is hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Those are all conditions where ED tends to influence our eating decisions. He promises us comfort, relief from those conditions. But what I'd like for you to really work on this week is identifying what specific conditions in your life allow ED to take control, or allow ED to plant this thought that eating is the only thing that will soothe you. And you may need to pay close attention as this happens to you this week. And that's, unfortunately, that means sometimes you don't realize it until after the fact. Or maybe you can look back in the last week if you weren't food sober and say, what really led to me making the decision to eat? And a lot of times you find it is a stressful situation that's specific to you. For example, sometimes it's, every time your mother-in-law comes over, or every time you have a meeting with your boss, or every time you have conflict with a certain person in your family, that's when you wind up binging. Those are the things you really need to make note of. Mary talked about how her time with Ed was influenced by habit, watching TV at night. That behavior was so tied to eating that she literally could not engage in that behavior without being really, really tempted to eat. And again, so that's a red zone, danger zone. That is a place where Ed is going to talk and likely be able to influence her eating. So I really, really would love to hear from you guys. It'd be awesome if you want to drop it below here and talk about what your danger zones are. What are the things that are likely to get you caught up seeking pleasure and listening to Ed? And again, so the next steps after this will be realizing what it is we believe that causes us to eat off plan. So first the situation, then what is the false belief that we buy into that says, yes, I agree with you, Ed, I need to eat. And then the last part is counteracting that with the truth. Because it always is, when we fall, when we make the decision to eat off plan or overeat, it's always because we believe a lie. And so those are the steps that we'll be going through. But right now, really, really focus on what is the situation. What are the situations in your life where you lose your determination, where Ed takes the wheel, where you are no longer in control, or where you agree to something that you didn't start off the day committed to, right? So anyway, I hope that makes sense. Ask any questions that you have. I'll be happy to clarify, but I'd love to hear from you about your own trigger situations. You really need to journal these things, because then when you get into that situation, you know that you have to be on high alert. You can start listening. Okay, I know Ed's going to mess with me during this situation. And as you become aware of yourself, it becomes easier and easier to recognize those times when you could be vulnerable and either avoid the situation or be prepared to come back at Ed and not just let him take over. Okay? Hope y'all have a great day. Talk to you soon.